SportsCast with Jeremy Buckelew is proud to announce we are now officially powered by TEC. If their fiber optic internet service can handle everything we throw at it here in the studio, from videos to calls and live streams, you better believe they can handle your home or business too. If speed, stability, and service is important to you, you can count on TEC. Thanks, TEC. Now let's get to the show. In a world that moves way too fast, there's one place that feels like home. Tater's Place in Paris, Tennessee. Where the sizzle of a smash burger meets the sound of laughter, and every plate tells a story. Bring the family, make memories, and taste the love in every bite. Live music, real people, and unforgettable food. That's Tater's Place, 3615 Highway 79 North. Find the flavor you've been missing at Tater's Place. Come and feel what you've been hungry for.
Are you looking for a fence that gives you peace of mind? At All Star Fence Company, we don't just build fences, we build confidence. Whether it's keeping your family safe, protecting your property, or simply adding curb appeal, All Star delivers unmatched quality, dependable service, and lasting results. Locally owned and trusted across West Tennessee, Kentucky, and beyond, we're the name homeowners count on for reliability and strength since 1971. All Star Fence Company, your first line of defense and your best choice for peace of mind. Visit allstarfenceandsupply.com today.
Hey, good evening, folks, and welcome to another episode of SportsCast. I am your host, Jeremy Buckelew. Glad to have you with us tonight. I hope you've had a good weekend and are just enjoying the time that you've had. So, want to say thank you, of course, as we start the show, as we always do, to our sponsors for bringing you SportsCast each and every week. We want to say thank you to TEC. They outfit our entire studio with high-speed fiber optic internet, and it works like a charm. And so, you know, if it can handle everything that we've got going on here, then it can run anything and everything you throw at it at home. And so give the guys at TEC a call, get set up as they are bringing high-speed fiber internet to Paris and have started laying that, and I think some places are already outfitted with it other than just some businesses like what we have here. So also want to say thank you to Tater's out on the Lake Highway. Always a good time out there with great food, great fun, great atmosphere, and don't forget about the bike shop as well. If you've got a motorcycle, need some work done to it, you can take it out to Tater's and grab you a bite to eat while you're in there. Get you a smash burger, some fried pickles are my favorites on the menu, but they've got a little bit of everything for everybody. And so Tater's out on the Lake Highway, we appreciate them. And then All-Star Fence, Jeff Archie and his crew can take care of anything and everything you need fence related. No job too big or small for them. So any fencing you need, give All-Star Fence a call and they can get you taken care of. Fall is in the air, and so I thought we would switch gears a little bit from what we normally do. Instead of talking about football and baseball and soccer and basketball and all that stuff, we're going to talk some hunting tonight. I enjoy a good hunting trip, and so got a guy on here with me tonight that is no stranger to that world and has quite the presence online in it. He writes for, or edits and writes for Bowhunting magazine, and has his own company called Hunting Roots. And so glad to have with us tonight Mr. Brodie Swisher on the show. Brodie.
Hey, man, we are so glad to be here. Fired up about it, man. And as you said, we've been kind of following along with what you're doing. Love the local sports and seeing the local faces and kiddos and all that, but we're really glad that you've included some of us rednecks too to play, that we play our game, and
I enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a community. That's what we do here, and so sports and sportsmen, and so yeah, man, perfect opportunity. Really appreciate the chance to be here tonight.
Glad you're here, and brought somebody with you. Aiden is out of town with the Bethel archery team, and so he couldn't make it, but we do have Remi here tonight with us. Remi, Glad to have you on the show, my man.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
You are like a professional behind the camera already because you and your brothers and dad always are shooting some content, and can find that all over YouTube and on the Hunting Roots YouTube channel and whatnot. But you're probably more comfortable behind the camera than I am at this point.
Probably.
I don't know.
I tell you, like Remi is my buddy at church, and the first thing he noticed when he walked in here, I think, is that there's a certain color that we do not have in the studio. Now, got a bunch of other colors to go along with the teams that I support, but there is no Tennessee orange in my studio. That is by design so far. But I always enjoy our Sunday morning conversations about what has gone on the previous weekend. Now, we're not talking about that right now because this show, we're actually pre-recording this show, and it's going to air on the week of fall break, October 12th. And so today is October 12th when you're watching this, but we recorded it earlier. So, Remi, I don't know. I think Tennessee and Ole Miss are both off this week. Today is October 2nd when we're recording it. And so I can't give you a hard time about Tennessee, but I want you to know something, and this is no joke. When I'm sitting there watching an Ole Miss game and they're struggling a little bit, the first thought that goes through my mind is, come on, guys, we got to get it together because I cannot hear it from Remi on Sunday morning when I get to church if you lose.
That's right. Well, yeah, and he's doing just that. I mean, when the game's going on, he's talking about you. And, I mean, we're watching the game, and regardless, good or bad, whatever Ole Miss is doing, he's dishing it out. And he's like, I hope Jeremy sees this. I hope Jeremy – he's giving it. Anything Ole Miss – if there's a chance to jab, Rimbo's going to jab.
I appreciate it. And, of course, I root for Arkansas as well, and they've had a really bad year. And so that's really where you can get me right now is Arkansas. But I do always look forward to our Sunday morning conversations about the Vols and the Rebels and how they did over the weekend. But you, like, Brodie, I won't get to you in a minute. But you are a Green Bay Packer fan as well, which is kind of unheard of in Tennessee. But listen, I'm with you there because I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Yeah. Not a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans in Paris. There's some of us, but Green Bay is an interesting choice for a professional football team to root for when you're in Henry County, Tennessee.
Yeah.
How did you become a Green Bay Packer fan?
Well, I really liked Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones and all those guys, but now they're not even on the team anymore.
You might as well start rooting for the Steelers because we got Aaron Rodgers and he's doing all right for us. So we'll join you on our side if you want to come on over and be a Steelers fan.
Nah.
I'll take you to an Ole Miss game and have you rooting for the Rebels before it's over with too.
Easy.
Nah.
Yeah.
Guys, we'll get to actually the heart of the show. And Brodie, you, again, just with all your outdoorsmen, so you've been doing that a long time. Like, you can go back and look on your Hunting Roots page, and like, you've been an avid outdoorsman probably your whole life, be my guess, or a lot of it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely, most of my life, and and I didn't come from a hunting family, which is really weird. My family was very much sports based. All my brothers, I come from a family of 8, and all my brothers and even my sisters were very athletic, and I was too, but I kind of burned out on the baseball and the basketball and stuff and got into hunting, and just, I don't know where it clicked. I think really for the biggest thing was my sister, my older sister, her boyfriend came home. They came home, he dropped her off, and he had been frog gigging or something that night. And I'm like, dude, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I found out he was shooting deer with a bow, and I'm like, I've got to get in on this. I was 8 or 9, and so I went through the hunter education class. My dad took me on my first squirrel hunt back when, like I said, I guess I was 9 years of age, and watched 2 squirrels. He shot 2 squirrels. I'm just sitting there watching this, and I was just blown away. Yeah. And I thought, man, this is the coolest thing. And he shot them, but it was my job to go get them. He said, man, I want you to go get those. And I'll never forget walking up to him, and I'd watched him fall from the tree, and walked up there, and I'm just thinking, man, he killed those things. He just shot 2 squirrels. And it was this reverence, I guess, and just kind of the sacredness of life or whatever. And I was just kind of, for a moment, it was just kind of a bittersweet. I saw life and death, and I loved it. It didn't ever take me back like, ooh, I don't want nothing with that. But I just really quickly appreciated, like, here's something alive, here's something dead. Now we're going to take it home and feed the family. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. And so my dad got me started in it, but he was a small game hunter is all he ever did. There weren't deer back in those days, or turkeys. And in any numbers. And so my hunting roots for deer hunting really start here, November 5th, 1988. We had moved to town here back then. My dad was between jobs, and we lived out of my uncle's cabin at the lake. And we were going to church, and some folks from church, it's actually Wild Bill Moody, Crazy Wild Bill. We were going to church with those guys, and he said, hey, the youth hunt's tomorrow, November 5th, 1988. You need to go with us. And so they took me, first deer hunt, first time hunting, and I got to shoot my first deer. And I'll never forget that whole weekend, because he had said, my dad was, like I said, he was traveling all week, working out of town. And so I remember my mom taking us to Uncle Lee's. You remember Uncle Lee's?
Yeah, I remember Uncle Lee's, yeah.
Out on the highway, I guess, where right there on Lake Highway.
Yeah, out there where kind of where Odom's Food Town was, out there next to it, where the Dollar General is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I remember my mom. They said, "Hey, you need some boots, you need some coveralls, orange hat and vest." And so we went to Uncle Lee's, and we didn't have a lot of money back then, but I just remember my mom like, "Hey, we got to get you stuff, and." Go to Uncle Lee's, get all the gear, get all the stuff, outfitted, ready to go. Next morning, November 5th, like I said, youth hunt in Tennessee, 1988. And went out there, and I remember those guys like, hey, here's the gun, cock the hammer back, your little 30-30 rifle. And they said, just don't shoot the cows. Okay, there's cows around the pastures. Man, I was so scared as that day was breaking, thinking, man, I hope I can tell the difference in a cow and a deer. I was 11 years old, and so, yeah, just a little bit younger than Remi at the time. And, man, first 30 minutes, day's just breaking. Legal light, but barely. And I look out there, and my dad's like, hey, he's mom, there's a deer. I'm like, where's a deer? And sure enough, out there 20, 25 yards, there's a deer standing at the edge of the field. And I'm get the gun up on my shoulder. And I just remember trying to find that hammer. I was like, what in the world, man? Where was that? And you just try and get everything cocked and just ready to roll. Sure enough, I finally get it back, and he's like, you got to shoot the thing. He's whispering. My dad's on the ground. I'm in a tree stand that's like 6 foot off the ground. They literally picked me up, put me up there. Dad's on the ground. My brother's sitting in a tree next to him. And I finally got the hammer back, ready to roll on this little lever action 30-30, and pulled the trigger and just whoo. And, of course, it rocked me, little 11-year-old me, and I'm just like, what happened? My dad jumps up, runs out there. He's like, you got him. You got the deer. You got the deer. And he comes back, and he runs back out there again. He's like, it's a buck deer. You killed a buck, and he's fired up and comes back again, and I'm trying to get down. I'm like, get me down, and he runs back out like, it's 9-pointer. You killed a 9-pointer. And he talked like it was this big monster deer, and I just remember, because he wasn't helping me get down, so I finally said, my brother Trip, I said, Trip, get over here. And he kind of comes up closer, and I just kind of bail off the tree stand, land on him. We both tumble to the ground, and then get up there and walk out there. And this is the smallest little buck. It did have 9 points if you stretch all of them. But it was like, a year-and-a-half-old buck, just this tiny little bug. But, man, it didn't matter what it was. It could have been the biggest thing in the world. That was my first hunt, and that was just up the road out on 54 Highway, and changed my life,
sure.
Though, and so that's really, again, I tell folks, my hunting roots, deer hunting, serious roots, started right here in Henry County.
Is that where so your Hunting Roots is the name of you on your hat and your website that y'all run, and your podcast that you do is called Hunting Roots. Is that kind of the story behind it, or how did that come about with Hunting Roots being the name of that?
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of what we've been doing, and it's like, we wanted to start this podcast and start this program. What have we been doing all these years has been teaching, camps and hosting classes and teaching hunter education classes. That's what we've been doing since way back. And it's like, that's what we do. Hunting Roots is telling our story, how our story began, just like it just did. But it's also helping young guys like Remi and my family and others that don't have their story yet, that hadn't got their roots established yet. And it's going back and helping them establish. So digging back to our roots and telling the story, as well as helping people, the non-hunting world, new hunters, whatever, establish their roots. And so that really started, that brand, I guess, so to speak, was started, 4 or 5 years ago, probably, Remi. And so we've done variation of different things over the years, from all manner of outdoor programs and camps and clinics and ministries to this most recent, effort with Hunting Roots,
right.
Starting with that. So
I don't know that anybody ever forgets their first hunt. 'Cause I had my family, my uncles and cousins all hunted. My granddad hunted. He was a big rabbit hunter back in the day. But deer hunting, my cousins hunted. And I always, I wanted to do it. But I had some friends up the road, Billy Ross and Daniel and Stephen grew up together there near Peaceful Meadows Lane. And the Rosses really are what got me into hunting. And I don't even know if you remember, but I had my hunter safety course at Cottage Grove Elementary School.
At the school.
At the school. I remember Don Kate was the principal there, and the TWRA, I think, would come out and do it, and had the lessons. And then on Friday was the shoot day. And I remember, I think Mr. Kate brought every shotgun he had to school, which would be unheard of nowadays. You know what I mean? And so we went out there on the baseball field and pointed it at the woods and shot skeet. And I remember the arm throwing thing that they had didn't work, and so somebody had to stand out there and just kind of chunk those skeet out towards the woods. But I got my hunting license at that point, and then first hunt I ever went on, Billy Ross took me out, and I think it was on Bob Leach's land out in Elkhorn community, and was sitting in a stand with me and Steven. We're sharing a stand, and 2 does walked out, and of course, you always, when you're going hunting, you always hear these stories. Okay, you gotta be real still. You can't talk. You gotta be just quiet. And so I was just sitting there like a statue. And Steve was like, "Oh, there's some deer coming." And I was like, "We can't talk. Don't say, don't say anything. You'll scare them off." But anyway, so that's where I got my first deer. It was a good sized doe, and dropped her right there. And it one of those situations where we were kind of surrounded by this thicket. And so when I shot, my deer just fell, and that other one was with her. It was kind of confused and stood there, so I handed the gun to Steven, and he got the next one and got that one. So we walked out there with 2 deer. But I mean, your first hunt like that, you remember it for the rest of your life, and it becomes like, from that moment forward, I was just hooked, just wanted to go as much as I could, and still do. Just don't have time to do it like I would like to do. And, but it was a good time.
Is that Billy Ross, Preacher Man?
Preacher, yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because anytime, and we're friends on Facebook, and I've met him at some different ministry events, and anytime I'll post something with the kids or squirrel hunting, he was a big squirrel hunter too, and Mr. Billy will comment, and he's like, "Man, there's nothing like those memories of that," and it's always stuck out. I can just see him. He's kind of in that 4th season of life, and I can just see him digging back to his roots, and digging, and he, we do something, a hunt, we post or whatever, and he kind of digs back, and you can tell it sparks a memory with him, and he's like, "Man, there's nothing like, nothing like those moments, those memories," and so I love to see him post stuff, and he's still, I don't know how old he is, but he's still serious,
pretty
about
active,
it.
and he and Miss Patty go quite a bit, and of course, he's been out. I know you have too, out to Wyoming and Montana on hunts and all that, and
good dude.
But like that's where I got my start in it. It was just wanting to. I remember walking in their house the first time when we moved into the neighborhood and became friends with Daniel and Steve, and just walking in their house, and there were just mounts everywhere. And of course, he was good friends too with Dickie Wooten at the time. And so every now and then we go out to Dickie Wooten's place, and he'd be working on some just astronomical kind of mount stuff,
taxidermy,
and just got it. Like I said, just neat stuff to see. But you remember yours?
I do.
All right, let's hear it.
So how I got started hunting was actually with dove hunting.
Okay.
And Dad, he took me out to this dove hunt with all we had a bunch of buddies, and we all went out there, and I didn't ever shoot because I was 5 or 4, and he would shoot them, and I'd go run out there and get them, and then he would shoot some more, and I'd go run out there and get them, and
we stopped at 15, though. Make sure you point that. We stopped at 15.
Yeah, we stopped at 15.
Just got the bag limit. That's all that you needed. Right. TWRA, you'll be waiting out here at the
door. All right, carry on.
Go ahead, Remi.
And then after that, I think I was was I 6 or 5 when I killed my first buck deer?
I think you were 6 because a couple of your siblings had killed them at 7. And that was the thing to do, to beat 7. And I think you did. I think you killed your buck at 6. You were pretty young,
Yeah, so I went out this one morning and didn't see anything. And that was one of my first times to ever go deer hunting. And I think it was on the youth hunt. And then we go out that afternoon on this other property, and we wait a little while. And after about an hour or two, a little spike buck comes walking out, and comes out, and I shoot him, dumps him, and then I remember just go running out there to get him. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was such a cool experience because he literally ran to that deer. He'd been praying for that deer, and I don't mean just hoping and dreaming and praying. I mean, I remember the night before some of those hunts, especially that youth weekend, and he's like, "Lord, just be with my mom and my daddy and those people that are sick and whatever, but Lord, please help me to kill a deer tomorrow. He was praying and he meant it. And so that was a big deal because, I mean, he'd been waiting a long time to catch up and do what the big boys had been doing. And, it was cool to see this little spike. I think you called it a 3-pointer. Like I called it a spike. It had little nubs broken off or something. You're like, dude, that's a 3-pointer, son. Don't you dare take my point, you know.
But you are the house champion as far as the youngest to get one, right? 'Cause you said,
I think so.
So Aiden and Easton both were older, so that's a proud trophy to have. I mean,
That's right.
You know, no one can ever take that away.
That's
from him.
right.
No matter what Aiden does or says, he will never have killed a deer when he was 6.
Yeah, I think Avery was the one that kept on saying, "Yeah, I killed a deer when I was 6," but when she only killed one when she was 7.
She lied. Yeah, she was lying. Right.
So
That's funny.
So y'all are, y'all deer hunt, turkey hunt. You have a preference? What else? I mean, you squirrel hunt. I mean, if it moves, y'all go after it, right? For the most part.
Pretty much.
Yeah, we enjoy all of it. If it's legal, the season opens, and we're ready to go. Yeah, squirrel hunting, that's how I started off, and that's been my thing. And I don't want to say got away from it, but I mean, I got into turkey hunting, deer hunting, and other stuff. But as I began having kids, man, it kind of came full circle for me because I just again, it reignited that fire for teaching them that basic. You know, there's nothing better than a squirrel hunt to get somebody started. Sure. And they get out there, they have the opportunity, they're seeing the critters, you know, and it's just happening. And you typically always get a shot opportunity. And so it kind of relit that fire for me with these kiddos, getting them back into it. And it has. We've added a squirrel dog to the mix now, and that just another whole element of that. And so we love the squirrel hunting. But, yeah, deer, it's a toss-up. Deer, turkey. You ask me to come March, what I like best, and it's going to be turkey
hunt,
you know.
Yeah.
And right now, bow season just opened, and I love bow hunting. Nothing like deer hunting. So,
yeah, I don't know, but I think deer hunting's always going to be my favorite.
Okay.
I mean, I still love turkey hunting, but like deer hunting just always going to be the best, I feel like.
You bow hunt too?
Yeah, last year I started bow hunting with a compound bow,
Yep.
and this year I didn't kill one last year, but this year hopefully I can kill one with it.
So you got bow hunting, then it goes into muzzleloader, and then gun season. Like I said, I know you write for bow hunt. How many articles you do a week or try to do in a month? How does that work for you?
Yeah, it's really random. So my job at bowhunting.com, which is an online bow hunting, you mentioned a magazine. There is a bow hunter magazine, but I work on the digital side of things of bowhunting.com. And so, we try to have 3 or 4 articles a week going up as far as that goes. And they've got a web show, bow hunting web show. And so guys can go on and watch the team, bow hunts around the country. And so my job is to, create content for that I write myself, as well as manage content coming in from other writers, and assign those articles, get them back, get them posted, and do all the stuff. I've never been a computer guy as far as the tech stuff, but the learning the program and being able to get that in, that's about as techie as I get, but being able to just get those content, get it in, get it edited, and get it up each week. And so, yeah, there's content going up every few days at bowhunting.com, so we invite folks to come check it out.
Y'all prefer bow hunting or gun hunting? What would you rather do if they said you can only do one? You got to pick one at the beginning of the season. Which one you going to do? Which one?
Bow hunting.
You bow hunt?
Yeah, I'm with him. Bow hunting for me, just because it is such an intimate deal. You're up close, you're personal. Gun hunting, they say the time you see a deer to shoot a deer when you're gun hunting is like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
You see, with these guns, they pop out in the field, you can shoot.
Got it, yeah.
Whereas bow hunting, you may watch that deer across that field for an hour as it's working towards you, and your heart, as it's coming, your adrenaline's going through the roof, and you're just shaking and knees knocking. And so I think for the best bang for your buck is bow hunting. I just love that close encounter deal. You see it, you smell it, you hear it, all the stuff that goes with it at close range. Now, if somebody said you can only choose one, survival, this is your meat, this is your livelihood, I'm probably going to pick up that rifle and go pick up meat. But just for pure enjoyment, just bow hunting, something special about it.
I bow hunted a little bit. I wasn't even good at it, and so and then my bow disappeared. That's a different story. And so, but you're right in that you're not taking any 250-yard shots with a bow. Obviously, you got to get them 10 times closer to you than that.
Absolutely.
And just like you said, the adrenaline and the excitement that comes when you're just sitting there just waiting, and because you've been watching this deer for a while, and it finally is making its way to you, and you just feel like your heart's about to just jump out of your chest.
It's adrenaline rush for sure, to say the least. I mean, it is. I know guys will find that adrenaline rush in all kind of things, but for me, I don't need crazy stuff. Just get a deer in there at 15 yards, and it'll do crazy things to you.
What's the most fun hunt y'all have been on? And like together, separate? Like, 'cause I know you've, on one of your pages, there's a big, I think you've been bear hunting or moose and everything else, I assume. But,
yeah. Absolutely.
What's most fun when you've been on that you can remember? Yeah,
and we did. We lived in Montana for about 7 years doing some ministry work out there, and I got to do a lot of bucket list hunts out there. But, man, my favorite hunts are still, people ask me all the time, man, are you going anywhere? You want to go hunt, crazy hunts or whatever by yourself? And I tell them, I said, I enjoy hunting right here at home with my kids as much as anything. And I mean that. It's not just trying to be some, you paint a picture as a good dad. I just, because we have a lot of fun. Remi and I hunted this morning before he got started. He homeschooled, so we can hunt a little bit. And he's still got to do his school, but he's got to, he can do it when we tell Mama when we're going to be back. It's kind of like, we're going to hunt for a little bit. But, we're sitting out there, never saw a deer. But I was telling him, I said, this has been fun. I'd rather be doing this than sitting at the desk by myself working. And so, I don't know, Remi, you might have to help me think of one of the funnest ones as far as anything come to mind with you. I know, I do think back to, I'll say this, in Montana, Easton, my other boy, we were hunting this apple orchard in Montana, and it was just crazy good. And you would get to the place, and the deer would be out in the alfalfa field, and there'd be 30 or 40 deer out there. But we were in the apple orchard in a pop-up blind, and so about that last 30 minutes, last hour, they come from the alfalfa field feed and come to the apple orchard, and it's legal. But it's apples everywhere. Macintosh, sweet as it gets, apples everywhere. And so we're sitting in there eating apples in the blind, having a big time, and the deer just start pouring in, that last 30 minutes. It's just super fun. But on this one particular hunt, it was fun, but I was also pulling my hair out because it was, there was a windstorm blowing, the blind's getting blown up, I'm trying to hold it down, and then Easton he was real young. He was probably 5, he was too young, 5 or so, I don't know, but he would always be telling me, Dad, he can't whisper, he just, Dad, here comes the deer. I'm like, shh, boy, come on, shh, be quiet, and then, well, then he gets, they had been singing or something at church. We were working with a little church plan. I was pastoring this little sportsman church is what we called it for hunters. And him and Aiden, the older boy, they were recording themselves on an iPad or something. And I think they were singing Mighty to Save or something. It was on the iPad. And so he's going through my iPad. I had it there for him to play games and kind of keep him distracted or whatever. But we got deer all around us. I'm trying to get ready to shoot. We've been having the blind blow off. I'm holding it down. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's talking like, Dad, there's a deer. It's like 10 yards. I'm like, dude, chill. Well, then he gets the iPad. I'd hand it to him like, hey, just chill right here on the, maybe kind of pacify the noise a little bit. He hits the video button of that singing on the iPad. So I got a deer. I'm getting ready to shoot at 10 yards. She's standing there big as a world. Fixing to light her up. I got the bow in my hand, getting ready to draw. And all of a sudden, Mighty to Save. It goes on the iPad. Loud as can be. That deer's eating apples. She comes up and she like looks at it and like, what? And then she goes back to eating. I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to, And I mean, I just look at some of those hunts, and when it was a cluster and it was chaotic, and I was about to whip a kid in the blind, but looking back, I think they were really kind of fun, So, anything come to mind to you, Rembo?
I was thinking, and I think last year was a really fun one. It was at our lease, and we had some deer come out. They're not really that great of bucks. They're like 5-pointers or like 3-pointers or like 6-pointers, some of those. And like they're out in the field, and they'd come out, and after a little while they started fighting, and that was really cool. And there was like 4 of them, and they were fighting. And then one comes up like 15 yards from us, just walking right in front of our blind. But then right as when it gets almost to get in front of a like little bush that was gonna kill him in front of, and he turns, walks further away into the field, like he knew like if he was close enough we would shoot him, and so he goes in the field, walks like curves like and walks away.
Danger zone, yeah. And I remember that hunt there, and I've experienced this several times, and I love it. He was sitting like he was in his own chair, but he needed to get to where over this side of the blind. I'm videoing. And the deer does come. It's he's like, I'm not shooting. Remi's like a lot of us. He's like, I'm not shooting unless it's an 8-pointer or something. Spike buck comes like, I'm killing him. He's like, I'm
right,
ready,
sure, changer.
And it comes up perfect. and he's coming across, and he's right there in front of us. He just needs to come out from behind that tree, and Remi had gotten on my knee, and he's sitting on my leg, and I could feel, he's just like he's riding a cowboy on my leg, and he was his legs were shaking so bad, and I could feel your legs on mine, your legs were just shaking, you'd squeeze your knees on my knee, trying to calm your knees and your legs, and yeah, it was such a cluster again, but man, we were so close to that first deer with a compound bow last year, and the hunt's still on for that first one, but yeah, that was a fun hunt last year. We were close.
Yeah, we were really close, but steer, I don't know. It's like he knew we were there.
Yeah. I've got a similar story. We're going to take a break, and then we'll come back and talk about that with just some times you've been ready to pull your hair out in a deer blind or in a sand. But more hunting roots with Brodie Swisher and Remi Swisher after these messages. We'll be right back. Y'all stay with us.
In a world that moves way too fast, there's one place that feels like home. Tater's Place in Paris, Tennessee, where the sizzle of a smash burger meets the sound of laughter, and every plate tells a story. Bring the family, make memories, and taste the love in every bite. Live music, real people, and unforgettable food. That's Tater's Place, 3615 Highway 79 North. Find the flavor you've been missing at Tater's Place. Come and feel what you've been hungry for.
Are you looking for a fence that gives you peace of mind? At All Star Fence Company, we don't just build fences, we build confidence. Whether it's keeping your family safe, protecting your property, or simply adding curb appeal, All Star delivers unmatched quality, dependable service, and lasting results. Locally owned and trusted across West Tennessee, Kentucky, and beyond, we're the name homeowners count on for reliability and strength since 1971. All Star Fence Company, your first line of defense and your best choice for peace of mind. Visit allstarfenceandsupply.com today.
Back here on SportsCast with Jeremy Buckelew, talking to Brodie Swisher and Remi Swisher about hunting roots and bowhunting.com and just everything that comes with being an outdoorsman. And before we went to break, Remi was talking about a time where he thought last year he was going to get that first deer with the bow. Talk about that danger zone where they just tend to know where to be and where not to be. I remember sitting in a stand one morning. Of course, I've been sitting out there all day, and you're sitting there just waiting and hadn't seen anything. And a lot of times, where that deer walks through the woods, especially in the fall when those leaves are on the ground, they're crisp, you can hear him coming, And I was sitting there one day, and I was in this tree stand, and there was an old logging road out in front of me and one that ran this way, and they would use that logging road to get through the thickets and everything else, and so it made for a really good spot. But I was sitting there, and off to my right, I just happened to just kind of turn my head and look, and it had to be the biggest deer in the woods come walking up. But by the time I saw him, I couldn't turn to get a shot on him to my right. And that daggum joker walked behind my stand and then followed the tree line everywhere to where I never did get a shot on him, and then turned up. And when he was out of range, turned left. And it's like he knew exactly where I was and was just haunting me out there in the woods.
I don't know what that deal is on that. There's something to that. I think it's the Lord's sense of humor, I guess, is the only thing I can explain, because we've seen it a million times. That deer last year stood there behind that tree, and he just stood there. And he started to step to the right, started to step to the left. And how many times have you seen that? They walk behind a tree, and then they just walk straight away. That's got to be God just messing with us, I think.
Y'all probably with me, too. Like you're sitting up there in the morning, and the sun's coming up, and day is breaking, and you start hearing, you're like, that's a deer. That's a deer coming. And you're turning, you're looking, you can't see him, and you keep hearing this just crunching and rustling, and like, I know that sound. That is a deer walking behind my stand, fixing to walk right out in front of me, and it's going to be a quick morning, hallelujah, And then about that time, you turn over and you look and you see one of those big old fox squirrels or some birds over there rustling in the. And how mad does that make you? Because that makes me about ready to pull that 307 up and take those squirrels out.
Yeah, right. And you think you've got it figured out because, like you said, I mean, after the season goes on a little while, you're like, okay, I know this. That's a squirrel, that's a deer, blah blah. But then you have one like that, and you're like, oh no, that's a deer. That is a deer. That is a deer. And your heart's racing. You're starting, whatever. And then, like you said, you're about the point of passing out, blacking out, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's a squirrel. It is a squirrel. Got me. Got me again. So. They're tough. They
are. You got a bunch of stuff here you brought, and what all do you, when you're out and about hunting? Of course, different seasons for different things, I guess, right? The rut, you'll use something different, but you brought your pack that y'all hunt with. What's some of the stuff that you brought here? First of all, I want to hear the story of this one antlered buck that is sitting here on the table. Who wants to?
Yeah, we need to tell the story about that, Rembo. I don't know. Remi, can you get a hold of it better than me where you can hold it up for this one right here? Yeah, you can hold both pieces up. I don't know if they can get that framed up for you or whatever. Just hold it up there and you can.
There you go.
That's good right there, maybe. Yeah. So we've got two pieces here. This is a deer. You talk about some fun hunts we've had, but you talk about, Remi, you can slide it back over there maybe now. Just get it wherever you need to lay it. But, a skull here, 8-pointer. Your classic 8-pointer with a broken off rack. And again, you talk about some of the funnest hunts we've had. This has got to be the craziest hunt we've had. This was what, 2 years? 2 or 3 years ago?
2 or 3 years ago, I think.
And we're hunting right here in Henry County, deer hunting with a rifle. And Remi's up to bat in the blind. And we hadn't been there 30 minutes, and this buck walks out in the field. And he's just standing there and feeding in this corn stubble field. And Remi's like, Dad, that's a good deer. And I'm like, well, I don't know, man. I mean, is he that big? Whatever. We're not real big on we're not trophy hunters or anything, but we do try to, honor the landowner and shoot the best of whatever they want us to shoot. But this deer comes by, and I remember him saying, I was like, I don't know, man. That's kind of maybe he's a young deer, and he is, it's a younger buck. But I remember telling him, trying to maybe not discourage him, but just trying to like, man, let's think about us watching. And I don't know if he's what we need to shoot, and he's well. I think I said I don't know if he's good enough, and then Remi said, well, he's good enough for me. Yeah. And when he said that, it about broke my heart. I was like, man, don't let the kid shoot the thing. If he's good with it, And so the deer's walking kind of quartering away from us, 150 yards or so, and I said, all right, dude. And he gets his gun up, he's fired up, he's ready to go, gets his gun up on the sticks, and he's settling in on it. I said, all right, man, look, put the crosshairs right on his heart. Just put it right on his heart, squeeze the trigger. And he's a good shot. He's a heck of a shot. He's done really good. So, complete confidence. I'm like, all right, just cross it. You got it right on his heart. You got the crosshairs right on his heart. Are you on him? He's, oh, yeah, I'm on him. I'm right on him, Dad. I got him. I was like, you sure you're on him? Good. Just nice and easy and squeeze. And I said, get it on his heart and squeeze. And all of a sudden, whoop, he shoots. And all of a sudden, he shoots, and I see this antler go flying through the air. And I'm seeing the deer hits the ground. The buck hits the ground flat, just lays him out. But this piece, you got the piece there. That piece of antler goes flying like 10 feet in the air and then hits the ground right next to this buck that's laying there. And I remember, you can watch it. I remember asking him, I said, dude, what did you just do? And he was like, I don't know. I said, did you shoot him in the head? He goes, I don't know. I said, I think you just shot his antler off. He goes, I don't know. And so just based off experience in the past, knowing, okay, you might have, you done whatever. You may have knocked this thing out. We need to go down there. And sure enough, we went down there and finished the deer off. He was laying there just eyes closed. So I knew he was still, still had life in him. And so we finished him off there. But it was the craziest thing. And I remember Remi was like, Dad, don't tell anybody about it. And of course, Aiden's, other side of the farm, he heard it.
Right.
He's hearing, everything going on. He's like, what's going on? And Remi is like, Dad, I don't want you to ever say anything about this to anybody. I'm like, dude, I've got this. We'll keep this on the down low, and we're not going to talk about this to anybody. And I lied, didn't I? 'Cause,
that night you post all stuff on Instagram.
We go to
and
Facebook,
stuff.
and dude, 5.5 million views later
Wow.
on Facebook, and he's like, did you tell anybody? I'm like,
no.
Well, maybe, No, I told him.
Remi's a star. He didn't know it.
Yeah, well, I told him in the blind. I was like, no, dude. He's like, don't show this. I said, man, this is golden. You know, this is class. This would be one of our favorite videos. I speak at a lot of wild game dinners and sportsman's banquets and seminars and stuff, and I'm always looking for that kind of stuff. You know, it's just perfect. And I thought, dude, this is going to be a classic. No matter where we go, this piece, and we'll have to patch it in here and show it to you guys sometime here on this. But I mean, it was just an awesome thing, and it has been. It's been a favorite anywhere we go. And when that shot goes off, and I'm like, you got it right on his heart, yeah, pow, and the antler goes flying. And the crazy thing is, though, I remember we were doing our podcast the next day or so, and just reporting on the hunt, recap. And Remy's like, I'm like, dude, what were you holding? Because his brothers are giving him grief over it. They're like, man, dude, what were you doing? You can't shoot, whatever. And he's, I don't know what y'all want me to say, but I know where I was aiming.
Right. And
I know I was on that deer. So sure enough, we go out in the backyard, 100 yards, and we put the bullseye up there and put it in the vise, nice and rock solid. And he shoots, and sure enough, the bullseye's here, and his bullet impacts about 18 to 20 inches high and left. He had that deer the day before, right on his heart. He shot high and left. The same. And so sure enough, we shot a couple of grouping high and left, and so the gun was off. It had, and I remembered after the fact, oh yeah, I remember that gun slid over and fell in the floorboard of the back of the truck. And so we went and made the adjustments back on. And so he was right on the money.
Right.
That gun was just off, and it was shooting consistently high and left. That's exactly where that bullet struck that antler and sent the antler flying. So that's probably one of our craziest hunts of all time.
That's one of those stories where you could probably try to replicate that a million times and you'll never be able to do it again. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care how good a shot you become. Mm-hmm. You could probably try. I'm going to shoot the antler off this deer. Right. Would never be able to do it.
Yeah, so, not happening.
1 in a million, and so now you're the youngest to get a deer in your house, and I would claim that's exactly what I was aiming for. I don't know about what you other jokers are doing, but I was aiming for that thing right there. So
catch and release, yeah.
I got some other stuff to get to here, but I was going to ask you: do you have? This is a crazy question, but do you have any hunts that like you regret? And here's let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Cade and I went hunting one time out there in Cottage Grove at his grandparents' house, and his right in the rut, and it was a warmer day, and there was just a strong wind. It's probably 25, 30 mile an hour, just constant, feeling like wind blowing. And luckily, it was blowing across us and not, from behind or whatever. So we went and sat in the deer stand for a little while, and this doe came out, and we had doe permits and all that. And we're like, y'all, we don't trophy hunt. He always hunts because he loves deer meat. And so we fill a freezer over my dad's house. There's a freezer that Kate has 2 or 3 deer still in right now. But I was sitting there watching it, and he had the gun up, but I did such a terrible job of being a good dad that I had convinced him that his little 243 with that wind blowing, that he was really going to need to make some adjustments if he was going to shoot a deer that day. That the wind's going to blow that, and I just harped on it too much. But that deer was standing right in front of us, and about that time I looked over to the left, and a huge I think it was a 9-point. I saw him running across the field chasing that doe, and so I said, wait, don't shoot that one, here comes one. And that thing came across and just stood broadside to us, and I did one of the whole the little whistle to get it to stop, and he stood there and just looked, and I was like, get him, Cade. Cade, shoot that deer.
Oh, no.
Cade, shoot that deer. He's going to walk away, Cade. Shoot that deer. Cade. And so about that time, I had my 270. I got it up, and I had him in my crosshairs. And I was like, Cade, son, you got to pull the trigger and shoot that. And he's like, I'm afraid I'll miss. And I said, son, just take the shot. And he's like, I can't do it. And so I did and got that deer. But I was like, man, I had so worked him up into a fear of I'm going to shoot and miss that he didn't take the shot. And I regret, he's fine, but I regret that to this day that I took that from him. You know what I mean? You got any hunts like that you're like, no, I'm a good hunter?
No, I'm a pretty good dad. Man, wow. I mean, no, I will say, when you started talking about that, I thought, man, as much as I love, hunt with my boys, and it does. You post a picture, and you're in the blind, and we got some stuff on social media. It's easy to make dude, Jeremy, or Brodie, and Dad, Father of the Year, man. Look at them hunt with their kids all the time. It's so great. They're great dads, but we don't show the stuff that goes on in the blind, and we don't show that frustration. Like, dude, what are you doing? Shoot the deer. And I've had those, and I've, over the years at different things taught, hey, listen, you got to be patient. If they're not having fun, it's time to go, and all those things. But when it came, and that's easy to say and preach. But when it comes to your own kids, and you're in the blind, and I'm a redhead, man. I lose my temper. I'm no patience. And I remember with Aiden, my oldest boy, he loved it, but all the pressure of him being, that firstborn son, and he's been following me around for years, not being able to hunt in Montana. And I remember when we got back here, he was so excited to shoot his first deer because now he's back in Tennessee. Montana, they won't let him hunt till like 12.
Oh, wow, okay.
So you get back to Tennessee, he's 7 or 8, game on. But I remember we had a deer out in front of us, and I'm like, all right, dude, we're back in first fall back in Tennessee, home state, here we go. Here's your deer standing out there perfect. And he's like, Dad, I don't see it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, it is 40 yards. There's nothing between us and that deer, ground level. What do I can't find it in the scope. And just all these excuses that I know were bull,
Right.
And I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? And I'm like, he's right there. I see it in the scope. You see it in the scope. Well, yeah, I do, but it keeps going, just making up stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, he's scared. He's scared to do this. And he had some of that. Again, all that pressure. My buddy's like, man, you're going to get to hunt now. Oh, you're going to hunt like your dad. All this
Right.
stuff.
Oh, I can't
talking it
imagine.
up. And I remember getting mad, just like, dude, shoot this stinking. Well, what is your, just kind of like losing my cool. Nothing crazy, but just like, dude, this is what you've been waiting for. This is what, come on, are you going to be a hunter or what? And just not handling it like I needed to. And he finally did. I mean, there were several hunts like that. But I can't see it or whatever. And I remember one time, like, come on, boy. I'm just like the coach, like rib shots and stuff. Like, come on, we're doing here, And I was a little a lot over the top. I didn't need to be doing all that stuff. Now with Remi, it was just more. I think Remi's like just shoot, whatever.
What we've learned, and I'm sure that man, the same way, that what we have learned is that, like with those first ones, you're still learning how to be a parent.
Yeah.
And by the time that like Remi comes along, you're like, we've seen and done it all. Y'all go ahead and do what you want to do.
That's right.
What I mean?
You're good.
And nothing gets to you anymore. But
Well, that one was that's a series of hunts. But then I do think, man, I think back to a hunt that when we were in Montana. This is kind of an awkward, kind of a hybrid, if you will, of that, because I had a regrettable moment in the hunt, but then I still, bow kill one of my best bucks ever.
Sure.
So I was like, well. We were in church, and there was another guy from church that I was actually trying to minister to and just get him. He was coming to church, and I was just like, all right, man, this is a good old boy. We're in church together. But he had invited me with this group of guys that were kind of like the who's who in town up there in Montana to go. Some of the big dogs to go and just be very exclusive, or it's public hunting, but they like nobody gets to hunt here,
Sure.
And you're going to get to go with us and my boy, and we're going to go Sunday. And we got church, man. And he's like, we're going to go to church for a little bit, and then we're going to, boogie out. And the church was there going on the service, and I remember the preacher getting a little long-winded, and I remember my buddy Calvin, he's sitting across over there, and he was older than I am, and he looks over at me like, and he's like, we got to wrap it up, and
right.
And I remember us sitting there, and we look back and forth, and we're both sweating. Both of our wives are like, chill out. What are you doing?
Right.
And sure enough, we get to where we're like, we got to go. We got to meet the guys in town. We can't miss out. And so he and I snuck out of church. Not snuck out. We got up in the middle of the deal and walked out of church. Everybody saw, what are they doing? They knew what we're doing.
Sure.
It's Brodie and Calvin. Y'all are going deer hunting or something. And I remember going up the road and, 20 minutes up the road in town to the spot we're supposed to meet them. And I remember Amanda, and I guess I'd gotten too serious about, just the hunting and everything and slipping out of church. And she said, hey, I got a text popped up, and she said, hey, when you get some time, why don't you pencil me in? And man, that was just a low blow. I was just like a shot to the guts, and I'm just like, ooh, man, I've let this get crazy.
Sure.
I've been, too serious about all this stuff. And I just remember the whole ride up. I'm like, man, I didn't want to go now. This is miserable, And I'm like, well, this is going to be a good spot. But we got up there and had an incredible hunt. Shot a number of deer. I shot the biggest buck, one of my best bucks. I don't have a lot of big ones, but I mean, it was one of the best ones. And so I got over it real quick as far as not wanting to go, but I still look back at such a bittersweet hunt, knowing that was a great deer I shot that day, but it came after a little bit of a reality check, and I had to kind of check my heart and soul on that deal, knowing that, this hunting's gotten out of hand again, with my family.
Yeah, kind of the same thought that goes through my mind is, that deer is mounted at my parents' house, and it's the best deer I've ever killed. I'm like, man, like I took that from Cade. You know what I mean? Like that should have been his deer, but I stressed him out so much. And he's over it, and he hunts every chance he gets now. He'll come home from school to hunt on the weekends a lot of times out there in Cottage Grove still, and so like he's over it, but like I said, I still think about it all the time. It's just part of being a parent, I guess. But
that's right.
So talk about the rut and all that with bow hunting, and I guess the rut runs starts in November or so usually. And so what of this stuff will you use bow hunting, and then as the rut starts, and then with your gun season, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is just a few things we thought we might do, a pack dump, but just the sake of the table here, we've just got a few things I pulled out, but just some basic stuff. Remi, you can kind of talk about what we might have or what we're missing, but this early season stuff, I don't use a lot of calls early season. Yeah. These deer on kind of they're on their feeding pattern, whether they're in beans still or these cut cornfields. A lot of white oak, acorn trees they're transitioning to. One of the calls we talked about is this little, because we do want to do this, and I've done this years ago, is using this little fawn bleat. And we talked about it earlier, it sounds like a party horn. It doesn't sound like anything very realistic, but it's the fawn sound. And I know some people listening to this or watching this will be like, man, that's so cruel. But you blow the sound of a fawn, a baby deer, and it attracts the mom, a doe, to come in, that maternal instinct of the doe. So you call your does up with this. So it can be a great way to put meat in the freezer early season. You're calling up those does. Again, you got to kind of get past the fact that you're calling up those mama does. But I don't know if I can blow this or not. Get back away. But it's just, again, it sounds like it's just a baby sound, just that fawn bleat. And it's just a fawn bleat. And so that's a good early season call. We use bow season early on. And I think a lot of people think the grunt call. We know the grunt call. This is actually this piece of nostalgia. This is the first grunt call I had from back when I was a kid. I put some new guts in it, but the same old wooden barrel back in the 80s, I guess, when I was first getting started. But the grunt call is one that a lot of people think, oh, that's just for the rut. But deer grunt all year long, and so. And that grunting intensifies during the rut, a lot more vocalization. But I like to have that in my pack all the time. I mean, you never know, we might throw one of those out. On
the Hunting Roots YouTube page, you can find, y'all got a lot of videos and stuff. And one of the ones that I like the most is y'all did a kind of a what's your favorite grunt call, or y'all, and you talked about I guess your history with that one there for a little while. So y'all check that out. It's Hunting Roots on YouTube. It's all kinds of content and hunts and information and podcast shoots and stuff like that y'all post on there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we enjoy that. That's just kind of become we don't put a lot of effort and time into it. We've used that YouTube channel kind of as our, just a digital scrapbook for the most part. We watch it as much as anybody, looking back on those hunts from way back and just being able to watch back over the years. But a lot of fun. Yes, we definitely want people go check out the Hunting Roots YouTube channel. Yeah. They're on the YouTubes. But other stuff, early season, I try not to go to the woods without the thermocell. This is a thermocell. There's a lot of gadgets and gimmicks out there over the years, but this the thermocell, I don't know what these things cost anymore, but they're $30-$40, maybe $29, I don't know, whatever. But it's a mosquito repeller, and it's worth its weight in gold right now. I mean, there's nothing more annoying or of the devil than the sound of a mosquito in my ear. Yep. And this thing actually works. I mean, you can spend a lot of money on all kind of stuff, but this thing works. It's got a little butane cartridge in there. It warms up and puts off this, repellent, and it's it's worth its weight in gold. Nice. Early season, and also rangefinder. We use this a lot, obviously, just to do that. Put it up and look through it, as optics. But it does just that, tells you the range, as the name implies, rangefinder. So you can get out there and say, okay, that's 20 yards, that's 30 yards. Or the deer walks up and you say, hey, you can range it. I try to range spots when I get in a tree and know that stump is 20 or whatever. So great tool there. Remi's got one in his pack, and I've told him, because he's new, trying to get his first deer with a compound bow, and I've told him you need to be 20 yards or less. Right. That's kind of your max. And so, and I know he's like me. He'll get out there and start launching. We're like, that's close enough to 20. It's 40. Right. You just don't know. And so I use your rangefinder, mark it out, know what your shots are. Yeah. But those are a couple basic tools I keep in. I try to keep it simple. I know I carry a lot of, big pack with a lot of stuff. We video hunts, and so I got a lot of that stuff. Remember, what are we missing that we don't? Snacks. I mean, try never to go to the woods without snacks.
Sure.
Love some snacks. Yeah, you got the rattling antlers up there on the table.
So how do you use those?
You want to demonstrate those?
When and how would be the appropriate time for someone if they're just now getting into hunting? Like I've seen them wherever. I know you can buy them, but I don't know why you have them or why you would use them.
Yeah. So these are the shed antlers, or in these cases, these are antlers we cut off of a buck that we had killed, and but they're just to resemble a fight. And so you tickle those horns together, rattle them together, and it's presenting a fight. It's the sound of a fight, and deer will start fighting. Again, a lot of people think that's just for the rut, but now that they've come out of velvet, that fuzzy velvet they've had on their antlers all summer, they just shed that here in the last few weeks. And as soon as that velvet comes off, it changes everything in them. All of a sudden now they're, instead of wanting to be buddy with the other bucks, they're like, I'm going to whip you and I'm going to take your girlfriend now, And so that's what they're doing. They're establishing dominance when they fight, when they put their heads together, their antlers together and fight. That's what they're doing. They're saying, you know what, Remi, I'm tougher than you, and I'm going to get the girls, just like the kids do at youth group. You know, and the boys show up at youth group and, you guys puff up and you want the girls to think you're the best, and then the next kid wants to, and so deer the same way. And so we do that, and we're trying to mimic a fight in the deer woods because we know that everybody loves a fight. Sure. If a fight's on TV, we're watching it. We're getting pay-per-view. If a fight breaks out in the school and somebody yells fight, every kid's clearing the rooms. They're going to watch the fight because, bucks are the same way. They want to come and see what the fight's about. Who's fighting? What doe is there that I can steal? And so that's a great call. I'll start using that here towards the end of October, last couple weeks of October. You get into November and you can call a lot. A lot of people think all these calls are great in November, but the reality is in November, they've got a doe. And instead of fighting, they want to be with the doe and do the romance.
One thing on their mind at that point.
Yeah. Anything else anything you carry that I'm missing that we don't have as far as stuff?
I think that's about it. Sometimes I carry some face paint.
Paint, go full warrior mode with face paint. Books, like I said, we carry an iPad. I used to be big on, no gadgets, no book. I want you to enjoy God's creation. Just look out the window of the blind, sit there and don't move. And then, I've said that for years. I always said that earlier on. But then as I started having kids and they were growing up, I'm like, dude, they got to have it. Sure. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm the same way. I'll sit there for an hour and I'm like, man, I'm bored. I'll pull that phone out and I'm starting to scroll, check work stuff, emails, texts, social media. And if I can't sit there for an hour without, you know what I'm saying? And
absolutely.
It's a lot to expect out of a kid. They need something to help pacify the time. Again, if they're not having fun and they're bored out of their mind, they're not going to want to go back. Yeah,
I was talking to somebody the other day, and I don't remember who it was. We were talking about hunting stuff and whatever, and they were like, I just can't sit out there for that long and it's just too quiet. And I was man, that's some of that's some of the best mornings of your life right there. Is just some of the best times of worship outside the church building is in my car and in a deer stand at times, And I'll talk about that because I know you have taken hunting and turned it into a ministry. Really, you do a lot of ministry stuff using your hunting background, and so we've already been here an hour, which is obscene to me and crazy. But what we're going to have to do now, we'll have to come back in March and do a turkey show.
Oh, absolutely.
And when turkey season gets kicked up. But talk about your ministry stuff you do. I know you do stuff at Covenant Ranch. Y'all got an event coming up here. When this airs, it'll be the next weekend, I believe, because this is going to air on October 12th. Y'all got an event coming up October 18th.
Yeah.
So talk about that, but just your ministry in general, and we'll close the show with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess it's been 25 years ago now. God just gave me the green light to use my passion for hunting in the outdoors and to use that as a ministry. A lot of people gave me grief about that. I don't say a lot of people. There were people that were like, no, dude, you just want to be hunting more. You just want to skip church and go. And but I kind of battled through that, and it was like, no, God, I think wants us to use the things that we're good at, the things that and I'm not that I'm good at it, but things we're passionate about, our loves, and use that to further the kingdom and reach people and impact the lives of other people. And he just, like I said, gave me the green light. I had other folks I kind of talked to and like, man, this is good. And yeah, whatever. It kind of blew it off. But I thought, you know what, I'm rolling with this.
Right.
And I guess it started back in the late '90s. Started teaching hunter education classes. Got certified to teach those, and we did those in churches. In 2002, won a world champion game calling contest. NRA's put on. It was a Great American Game Calling Challenge World Championship. Won that in 2002. That kind of opened the door to start speaking at some of these game dinners and banquets and different stuff, and started doing that. Go and blow these noisy, ruckus of calls, and then again, just talk hunting, but tied in with the helping people realize, and link the creator with the creation with the creator, and just using my passion for hunting and outdoors to share Jesus. And that was kind of the deal there. Went to work at the Covenant Home. Went on as a director of that back in 2003, 2004, and in that process was able to work with the board of directors and share the vision for a camp and retreat ministry geared towards hunting and outdoors. And that's what my wife and I were able to take the Covenant Home Boys Home that was just struggling, turn it into a kids camp. And so we got to be a part of starting that back in turning that boys home into a camp ministry, sportsman camp ministry back in 04, 05, somewhere back in there. And we did that for 3 or 4 years, doing those camps and getting that thing started. And then that's when God called us to Montana, handed the baton to John Paul, and he's been running with it the last 20 years. I mean, God's continuing to do great things out there, and we still go out, and Remi's a part of those camps, and I'll go out and speak at some of those. And my ministry now, again, is more on the road, speaking at events.
Right.
We host a number of events in these workshops, like what we talked about coming up, the Whitetail Workshop coming up here on October 18th. And
that'll be out at Covenant Ranch.
That's actually Holly Fork.
Holly Fork, okay.
Holly Fork Shooting Complex, just down the road from Covenant Ranch. And so centrally located, great place right there. And we invite folks from all over West Tennessee or wherever to come over and be a part. It's a totally free event. And again, I've talked to moms who are like, hey, my kid has no idea about deer hunting.
Yeah.
He's interested but has no idea. Dad's not around, whatever it is. And that's what this is, man. Whether it's somebody just getting started or somebody that's been doing it for a long time. All skill levels, we want them to come out and be a part of it.
So that'll be October 18th from 10 to 4 p.m. out at Holly Fork.
Yep.
Ages 10 to 14. If you got any questions, call the number there on the graphic. But that's this upcoming Saturday. So you do that. And then I know also at Christmas, y'all do the BB gun Red Ryder giveaway.
Red Ryder Christmas project.
Yeah.
That'd be 5 years now. I think we're on the 5th annual deal with that, I believe, and 4, 5, 6 years of that. And so that's just again taking Red Ryders. I think every kid needs to have a BB gun, and they need to know Jesus, and so that's what that project's about, getting kids in the right direction. They're just helping families out, just families that need some help with gifts at Christmas time, putting those in the hands of again, struggling families, single moms, whoever needs a BB gun under the tree. And
anybody that is interested in that can reach out to you.
Absolutely.
And you can get them connected and hooked up with that information.
Absolutely. And they can visit us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, message us there. The number that's on that flyer, they can get us there. And so, absolutely.
I remember watching one of your YouTube videos, and I looked on the hunting routes, and y'all have some merch, but not this merch, but like your shirt says "Send It." And then you've got one I know that says "Something's Got to Die." And I saw that, and I was like, man, that seems kind of harsh. But then you were talking about what something's got to die. You're not talking about hunting.
That's right. In a roundabout way,
Right.
And we almost wore that. We debated wearing one of those shirts. That's a little too hot for the podcast tonight.
I love it.
But it says "Something's Got to Die." It's just white ink on black shirt. Something's got to die. But it's also got 1 Peter 2:24 reference under that. It says He personally carried our sins in His body on the cross so we could be made right. And just that reference to that, something had to die. Something had to pay the price. There was a sacrifice. Jesus did that for us. And now it's our turn. Something we've got to die to ourselves, get over ourselves, and that's kind of our message. And it just makes if you're not into the spiritual stuff, it makes a great rally shirt. If you're out there, if you're going deer hunting, you want meat in the freezer, something's got to die. So it's a good shirt. They can check it out on the website, huntingroots.com.
Yeah. So, well, guys, man, I appreciate y'all coming on. Like I said, I'm dead serious when I say that. Just plan on coming back in April or March, April when turkey season starts.
Absolutely.
You let me know when you want to come back at turkey season, and we'll do turkey hunting at that point. So
that'd be fun.
But I appreciate you guys dropping in. As I said, we're pre-recording this show, and so it's actually going to air on October the 12th. And so, Remi, I tell folks all the time, I tease them anyway, that if you see Remi tonight. He wasn't leaving RJ's. He was here in the
lounge.
the studio. Was filming a podcast.
That's right. That's right. We'll see. Yeah, that's awesome.
But all right, well, guys, again, appreciate it. Don't forget October 18th at Holly Fork, the workshop going on out there. If you want to know more information about it, just get in touch with Brodie on his social media, and he can hook you up with all the information that has to do. And so, Remi, before we go, can I get a go, Rebs?
No.
All right. Maybe next time. No. Guys, I appreciate it. Do want to say again, thank you real quick to our sponsors, Taters, TEC, All-Star Fence Company, the Peddler Advantage, Philip Massey at Shelter Insurance, Eaton Construction, Tennessee Real Estate, and John Trosper and his team. We appreciate them. Patriot Plumbing, thanks to Kevin Keel in the back and Keel Media for getting us on the air and everything they do for us, and Scott Norwood usually back there with him and running cameras and that kind of stuff. We couldn't do any of that without those guys, and we appreciate them very much. And so, as always, take care of yourself and each other. We will see y'all next week.